There's a drive way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow. Welcome to another broadcast of Bricks Behind the Ivy.
Hey, Cub fans, welcome to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. Thank you so much to our awesome sponsors, Wrigleyville Sports, the best sports store in Wrigleyville, and Yaggy Road Roasting Company, based in Valparaiso, Indiana, serving cups of coffee just as special as the moments you drink them in. Here's your host, Jeff Candid Cubs Rogowskis and Pat Erickson. Hey, Brickheads, and welcome to Bricks Behind the Ivy, a Cub podcast for Cub fans by Cub fans. I am always your host, Jeff Candid Cubs Rogowskis, and I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Patrick Erickson, the award-winning, well-celebrated Harry Carey impersonator, and just all-around good guy. Pat, how you doing today?
Stop it, I'm blushing. How you doing, buddy? Happy belated Easter to you and to everybody out there in Cub Nation.
Yeah, happy belated to you, and for our non-religious folks, happy belated Superman Day, or happy belated 420.
420.
Whatever you're poisoning, if it's the Man of Steel, if it's being Cody Bellinger, or if it's Jesus, we got you covered today.
You know, speaking of all that, I just saw a stat today that the last 3 years in a row, Cody Bellinger has homered on 420.
Yeah, it's. I was thinking immediately when I read that, I was like redefining a high fly ball. In that guy's career. That's
Yep.
It's so high.
Oh boy. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, what a weird. I mean, I know like all the stuff is kind of hearsay at this moment. Like, we don't know for sure if like that's something he partakes in, but. Yeah, it's hilarious to me, just like the consistency in which this guy performs on a very special holiday.
Oh yeah, and it is his national holiday, trust me. But yeah. But I guess more power to him. Why the heck not, right?
Yeah, it's and like I feel like my background's a little different, sort of today. I got these new light bulbs here. I'm gonna like tear up for those who aren't watching. You should hop onto YouTube and give us a subscribe. But they're like those Goldie light bulb. I know, and like I got a little jealous seeing Setup Man Kyle Stanley put out his nursery for his coming old child. Congratulations to the Stanley family over there on the new little guy coming. But his wife put together this really cool Cubs nursery. And I'm like, hey, I should send pictures out of my basement. Like, I got bricks, I've got ivy, I got things. So, I got those light bulbs off Amazon, and I've been trying to program them to like flash every time I tell.
Oh, heck yeah!
I've hit a home run. Awesome. So but I haven't figured it out yet. So if I figure that out,
I just got a boring background today, but that's all right. It's just a fire engine.
Just a fire truck.
That's it. That's
just a sweet fire truck.
Oh boy! What a week, huh?
Yeah, it continues to be a very interesting Cubs team. At minimum, they're fun to watch. They're a lot more fun to watch than the last few years, at minimum.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But, hey, guys.
You just never know what to expect from these guys from day to day, and even when they're out of it, they either manage to fight and claw their way back into it, or it's a close game. I mean, there's been, there's maybe one or two, but blowouts or anything. So it's been a treat, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think the discourse on Twitter, like, has visually, I feel like, changed as well as the team has improved. Like, it's not anywhere near as negative as it's been in the past. So that's good. I don't know. It's so early. You don't.
Just run with it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to, like rock that boat, but it is nice to see, and hopefully, with the positivity around the team, like we'll see, really energized fan base that isn't booing the team off the field a half inning later, and then cheering them like crazy as they take the lead in a crazy game, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but. If you are a big fan of this show, it's time for us to fire up the box score blitz, which is our fastball of Cubs recaps. It's powered by our friends at Yaggy Road Roasting Company, the boutique roasters from Valparaiso, Indiana, owned by 3 proud Valpo alums. Go Beacons! I'm also an alum. Their coffee is as special as the moments you drink it in, and just like a late inning rally, their caffeine hits hard when you need it most. So if you're powering through a doubleheader of life, or just trying to keep up with this red hot Cups lineup that's no longer going to be on the West Coast, so you won't have to stay up late, Yagi Road's going to give you the energy to go the distance. So let's get into it. Here's your 60-second sprint of the week in Cubs baseball. Go. Welcome to another Box Score Blitz brought to you by Yaggy Road Roasting. Let's go. We got a lot talked about. Game 1, we're in San Diego, a town Ron Burgundy once called a female whale's undercarriage. Game 1, they take a 3-1 lead, early powered by a Michael Busch home run, only for Nate Pearson and Eli Morgan to do their impression of a pitching machine as the Cubs lose 10-4. Game 2, Shota gave a tough 5 with not his best stuff, but a go-ahead RBI triple by Nico Horner gives the Cubbies a win with the help of a much better bullpen performance. Game 3, Cubs couldn't solve Nick Pivetta and made it a contest late thanks to a Pete Crow Armstrong dong, but Luke Little had little command walking 4 in a 4-2 loss. Back to Wrigley to wrangle some snakes. D-backs in as the Cubs say adios to them in 2025 unless they meet in the playoffs. Game 1, it was a pitcher's duel until it wasn't. Cubs go up 7-1, then they go down, then they go up, and the Cubs win 13-11 in the wildest game I've ever seen. Game 2 was a letdown on Friday, but the Cubs touch up Zach Gallen on their way to a 6-2 win. Ben Brown with 4 innings, pitched 4 walks, 6 Ks. Happy Easter, rain delay game on Game 3. Cubs lose 3-2 in extra innings after solid effort by Tyone. 5 innings, pitched 2 walks, 6 Ks, 11 wins, 3-3 week. First place, 14-10. See you next week. Go Cubs! All right, another 3-3 week for the boys in blue, taking only 1 of 2 in San Diego. I will not use all of the crass jokes from Anchorman, but the translation was lost years and years ago. We don't really know what San Diego means. And I'm just trying to impress
Something
you.
with a whale, I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a very interesting part of the whale. But
yes,
Cubs do take 2 out of 3 and own the tiebreaker this year, which ended up being a huge thing for the 2023 Cubs when they did not get the tiebreaker from the Arizona Diamondbacks. And yeah, 2 of 3 at Wrigley. Really weird game on Sunday. Could have had that sweep. Cubs have not won on a Sunday yet this year. So that's, Sunday's been a problem. It's not been win day for the team. But even now, if we take a look at the standings as we sit, the Chicago Cubbies still sit at top, 14-10. Milwaukee Brewers, who, as you said off air, are as pesky as a gnat on a summer picnic. They are 12-10.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. You can talk about that another time. Cincinnati Reds, they put up a few touchdowns on the Orioles this weekend. Their offense has been firing on all cylinders. They're in 3rd place, followed by the lowly Cardinals, and in last, the Paul Skeens Pirates. But good to see our boys in blues staying in first at that 14-10 rate. And yeah, just really excited for them to be sitting here, especially given what we knew about this stretch of games.
Yep. And I mean, the good thing is that, yeah, we could have, in actuality, should have had Sunday's game. But more importantly, looking at the big picture, they keep winning series. And that's what you need to do to stay competitive in this division, in this league. It's showing in the power rankings. It's showing in the pitching. So if we just keep winning series like this, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I think that's, Cole Wright has said on the air the other night, or tweeted out, and like I had pointed out, if Cole Wright doesn't post a picture of his W pin on Twitter, do the Cubs even win? And the answer is no. It doesn't count until that happens, and we see him raise that pin flag. But yeah, the Cubs haven't lost a series at home, and they've only lost 1 series or 2 series thus far this year, and they're to the Padres and the Dodgers, and that's nothing to be upset about. That's a really good result. It's mind blowing to me at this point. If you look at that NL West, the Padres and the Dodgers are combined 32-14, and a good chunk of those losses of the 7 losses the Padres have and the 7 losses the Dodgers have, most of those are to the Cubs. Like that's a good portion of them, and that's nuts. And Yeah, the fact that we're not going to see at the end of this month, we will not see the Padres or the Dodgers unless we play them in the playoffs.
That's
It's
awesome.
so
That's
it's
awesome.
so weird. It's so
Yeah,
it's so
it's strange. I mean, I'll take it. Trust me, I'll take it. But yeah, it's really weird. And the other thing is, and it's the old adage in baseball where, yeah, we couldn't get a series from the Dodgers or the Padres, but not only are we winning all the other series, but we're beating the games to the teams that we need to beat now. Because that was another thing that you would look back on in past seasons, even recently up to last year. There was a lot of, teams that we were beating like the good ones, but then we come, play like a cellar dweller. And the next thing you know, they took 2 out of 3 from us. We got to win the games that we should win. And they're doing just that.
Yeah, and they'll also be done with that. They're done with the Diamondbacks now too, as well.
Yep.
Which like
Yep.
that NL West is just stacked right now.
Yeah.
We haven't played the Giants yet, and the Giants look pretty good. They're 14-8, and the Diamondbacks are trailing behind. They're 13-9, and then you got poor KB and the Rockies that are just a disaster.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes.
not a very good baseball team.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Honestly,
And no end in sight,
prayers to Chris Bryant and his
Yeah.
family. It's not fun. And I saw Cody Delmundo post something about it. It's just not fun for like what Chris Bryant was. It was the anniversary of his debut last week when he came to Wrigley, and I remember taking off of work and watching him go and strike out the whole day, but it was so exciting every time he came to the plate.
Oh,
and, like,
absolutely. Yep.
knowing what he was and what it was going to be and what he ended up being. Like the guy had a lot of expectations on his shoulders and really didn't disappoint.
Yeah, he didn't. Yep.
This feels like his career has ended in a weird, like kind of a Derrick Rose-esque way, where
Yeah.
like
That's a good way of putting it. Yep.
the health has become a bigger story than the player, and he seems like he's a legitimately nice dude. And yeah, I'm not gonna root against an ex-Cub, especially one of part of the team. And yeah, just it's really hard to watch. The guy just has not been able to stand a baseball field, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Yeah. And it's a shame. And he'll, but like you said, he's always going to be revered for his time with the Cubs. He's always going to be revered as the phenom that came up, that won the Rookies of the Year, Minor League Player of the Year, MVPs, all the accolades that he got with Chicago, and obviously the 2016 World Series team. So he's always going to be a part of that. And, that's something to really hang your hat on. And, thoughts and prayers to him. And I mean, who knows? You never know. I mean, we all thought Jonathan Toews was going to be done with the Blackhawks and playing hockey in general. And now you keep seeing that he may have a comeback. You never know. But yeah, it's a shame, but he'll always be a Cub, forever.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a debate, I think, at some point, and whether or not he's a statue-worthy Cub. I don't know if that's an honor reserved to Hall of Famers, and it's interesting as players become and less loyal is not the correct word, but just the business seems to be a bigger component than keeping guys on a team forever, and guys are going to have to make financial sacrifices to do that, and that feels weird, and it's just a different time. I'm not sure when the next statue eligible Cub player exists.
Yeah.
And that's another incentive that today would be a really good day to extend Kyle Tucker.
Yes. Get the pen out there, Tommy. Come on, buddy. Look what he's doing. Let's go. I'm paying $16 for a beer at Wrigley. You can afford them.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take some sacrifices. We'll drink a few extra, just to make sure that he can cross that break-even line. So everybody do their part, I guess.
There you go. Get the snake cup train going on in the bleachers, guys. Let's go.
No bleacher rules, no cup snakes.
I know
unless
it's so
it's a
dumb.
blowout.
Get the bad.
That's a perfect transition for our player and pitcher of the week, brought to you by Wrigleyville Sports, located right across the street from Wrigley Field. Whether you're grabbing gear before first pitch or ordering from home, they've got you covered, including fast custom jerseys ready for game day. Pat, I'll let you go first. You are picking our pitcher of the week. Who do you got?
All right. Well, I did a little bit of looking into a lot of these things. And before I do the pitcher of the week, I also want to give a tip of the cap, though, to Colin Ray, because he has come into this team. He has filled a stopgap with Steele going down. He's done rather well. He doesn't have age, on his side or anything else like that. But I think it was a great acquisition, and he's doing phenomenal. The rest of the pitching staff, Tyon had a great outing over the weekend. Obviously, Shota keeps mowing him down, and where we go from there, who knows if it's going to be a Jordan Wick situation, a Ben Brown, whatever. But my pitcher of the week, and I'd fire up the sirens on this thing, but yeah, I don't know. But I actually went this week for the pitcher of the week to Matthew Boyd. And the reason why is, again, another great stellar pickup, a 2-year deal that we got him for. And he is all around a really good guy. Listen to Inside the Clubhouse with Bruce Levine on The Score on Saturday, out running errands. And they had him on, and just an all around nice guy. His family they grew up Cub fans. He was ecstatic to get here finally. His family is excited. And he's just a very, very humble guy. And to see what he has been doing thus far, it's been awesome. I mean, so far in the year, he's 1-2. He's got a 2.01 ERA, a whip of 1.25. He did take that loss the other day against San Diego, threw 5 1/3 with 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. So obviously he's got to, fix a little bit of that here and there, a little tweaking. But just every time it's getting to the point now where you feel confident when he's going out there. And he's taking care of business when is a situation when it matters most. I've been very impressed with them so far. When they first signed him, I'm like, really? But what he has been doing thus far with this rotation, obviously, again, with Steele going down and having to scramble to see who's going to be our 5th starter and all the things, it's good to see that we've got somebody reliable besides Shota, and I guess maybe a little bit of Tyon that is going to round out this rotation. And Matthew Boyd is the actual guy. He's going to be pitching this week against the Dodgers. So, it'll be a good test for him. But I think he's going to step up to the challenge, and I think he's going to do good. So that's my pitcher of the week.
Yeah, he really has been. I'll continue to eat crow on this signing. To me, it's always been about the health and, the lack of this pedigree of a lot of innings in his career. But, at the end of the day, he's been great. He generates a lot of whiffs, which this rotation needs, and he's fun to watch pitch. There's some dudes on this rotation that have been fun to watch pitch, and I'd even mentioned that about Jamison Tyone. I wish we would have gotten some uninterrupted Tyone on Sunday instead with the rain delay, but the numbers haven't necessarily looked amazing early on because of the long ball, but there is a lot of in between stuff that looks really good. But Matthew Boyd's a great pitcher of the week. So that leaves our
Who
hitter.
do you got for hitter of the week there, big guy?
Yeah, I was going between 2 guys. It was a pretty offensive week, and I'm an advanced metric sucker, and I'm really going to just really push this one over the edge with their defense, helping them out and getting them a little bit extra WAR. But that's going to be Pete Crow Armstrong.
ETA, all right.
Yeah, and I think I'm a little more inspired because like about 2 weeks ago, someone had tweeted out to me that since he was swinging a lot and being aggressive and he wasn't looking that great at the plate, I had mentioned something like that, and they had tweeted at me that he's garbage and he needs to go to Iowa. I believe since that tweet, I have seen nothing but just insane production from PCA, including a 304 ISO, which is what happens when you compare the slugging percent or the number of hits you get that are extra bases versus your actual your slugging versus your average. So it's when the higher the ISO, the better player you are, because that means you're slugging more than you're getting singles. And this guy, he's not walking at an elite rate, but he's walking some and he steals bases. He had a home run this week. He had 4 doubles. And he provides absolutely defense in center field. So PCA, you are our hitter of the week.
It's almost like he was slumping a little bit, but it's weird, and I don't know if it's coincidental, but that trip to LA when he had his family and friends and everybody there, that's why they're all nicknaming him PCLA. But I think that trip, in my opinion, turned him around. And since that LA series, he's been on fire. So good pick.
Yeah, he's since that series, or since the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 340 with 367 on base and a 680 slug, while providing 1.1 WAR in 2 weeks. That's insane.
That is insane. Yeah.
And like
That's the guy
the
who's
thing,
getting out of a slump. Oh yeah.
and he's almost like, if it wasn't for the war, like offensively in that 2 week period, he was actually outpaced by Michael Bush. Like
Yeah.
Michael Bush has been on a tear.
Yep.
He's got 4 home runs in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, the
Yep.
Cubs are, and I think that's such an interesting part of this team, and we can move on to the topics we want to talk about after this. But they were talking about in the marquee broadcast that the Cubs lead baseball with the 7 through 9 hitter in RBIs, and they have 43 RBIs in the 7
Yeah.
through 9 hitter. And I said that to one of my White Sox friends. He's like, I don't think the White Sox have 43 runs this year.
Oh
And
gosh,
I'm
no.
like,
No.
I'm like that, and that's
Not a
insane to
chance.
think
Nope.
about that. Their 7 through 9 hitters out producing the entire baseball team, and that's just not where you're going to see a lot of offensive production. And
Yep.
yeah, it's just been the lineup has been relentless, and at times I've been shocked by that, and
Mm-hmm.
worried about what the droughts look like. But there has been like this kind of next man. Certain guys have heated up, and while others have cooled down, and like Kyle Tucker is quietly having a fine 2 weeks. Like
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people would say is like a really good stretch of baseball. He's doing 286, 345, 490 slugging. Like that's not nothing to like snuff at. That's only like an 830 OPS, which is still a very good baseball player. But like the fact that he's hitting like that and these other guys are just absolutely crushing the ball, like he's gonna heat back up again. And it's not like he's looked bad in this stretch. He's still hitting the bejesus out of the ball. It's just been right at some people of late.
Yep.
But
Yep.
he's gonna heat back up and these guys will cool off. And yeah, it's definitely been a team effort.
And that's the topic that you and I even talked about last week that was important with this team is that, in years past, when you had guys that have cooled off, nobody has stepped up. Nobody's kind of filled into that role. Nobody's come up with a big, extra base hit, home run, whatever the case is. And early on, again, it's a small sample size, but early on, we are seeing that when, you got a Kyle Tucker who is having a good season, but not having the season that he probably thinks he can also have. And other guys like Bush, like Carson Kelly, those guys are really stepping up. And I mean, if you keep this up and then you start getting a hot Kyle Tucker when the warm weather hits, watch out. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be and if they're anything like our next topic, that game on Thursday, we should be having a great time. Pat, I know you looked into some of the significance and the interesting things around
Yeah.
Thursday's game last week, and for if you're listening to this podcast, first of all, you should and before we move on, let us know who your Cub pitcher and the hitters of the week are. Let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. Love to hear
Make sure
from
you
you.
hit those comments. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. This is not a dictatorship. We
Nope.
we like to hear from other Cub fans, and
Absolutely.
make sure that you're acting like it's the bottom of the ninth and they're full count, 2 outs, and you need to hit one out for Bricks Behind the Ivy. Do you know how you do that? Rate and review. Go to your podcast app, rate and review. And
Yep.
if you put in hashtag Brickhead in your review, you could be our Brickhead of the week. And if you end up being chosen as our Brickhead of the week, I will send you a free Bricks Behind the Ivy t-shirt. So
Heck
make
yeah.
sure you are reviewing on iTunes if you can, or iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and putting hashtag Brickhead, and I will send you a t-shirt if you get selected, and we'll have a Brickhead of the week starting in next week's episode. So how about that, guys? How about them apples?
How about them apples? That's right.
So Pat, let's talk about Thursday. The 13-11, like just absolute roller coaster.
Yeah, I was so excited to talk about this, I dropped my phone. Anyway, so the Arizona contest. I mean, I've seen some pretty big games. I even remember as a little kid seeing the 23 on TV, the 23-22 Phillies when Michael Jack Schmidt went yard a few times. I remember, the comebacks against Houston, all those things. But this takes the cake. I mean, there's a few things that I did, kind of jot down here. The shocking thing of all of this is going into the bottom of the seventh. It was a 2-1 game, and both starting pitchers were pitching phenomenal, and then it happened. They ended up being, because of all of this, they were the Cubs' first team in 113 years to allow 10 runs and still win the ball game. And the 16 combined runs is the Wrigley record. And we all know how the old friendly confines, how long that's been around. So that's pretty good. The Captain Cubbo, shout out to him. He actually posted something, and I jotted it down because I kind of wanted to talk about it. Somebody out there created a Cubs win expectancy percentage throughout the game, and so not going through all of it, but I mean, it was at the bottom of the second, we were at a 73% chance of winning. And then, it was hovering around the 60s. Bottom of the seventh, we had a 97% chance of winning the game. It was great. And then all of a sudden, at the top of the eighth, we dropped from 97 to 25 to 4%. And then it skyrocketed back to 94. So, I mean, it was nuts. And we had balls flying out everywhere. We had, Suarez hit a grand slam in the eighth. Gurriel Jr. hit a homer in the eighth. Cubbies, weren't, shying from it. The red hot and probably one of probably the best hitting catcher in baseball right now, Carson Kelly. He went yards in the second. Happer had another, grand slam this time in the seventh, and then Tucker and Suzuki went back to back in the eighth. I mean, the fact of how they came back in that, now it's a testament to we need to fix the bullpen, and hopefully that trade of acquiring Drew Pomerantz today from Seattle is going to solidify some of that. But it was unbelievable to see that. And, a couple of things, first of all, I think this would be a whole nother narrative if the Cubs did not win this ball game, but we're able to talk about it because they did come on top. And this is just me, and I'd like to get your opinion on this too, Jeff. I think, and I know it's early, I know it's a small sample size, but I truly believe that this game is going to be the turning point. This is going to be the game that we are going to look back on around the trade deadline in July, and maybe even after that, saying that this was the time where we bear down, where we, focused in, and we came back with a vengeance and won this ball game. I honestly do believe, with setting all those records and never saying never say die like the Goonies, and coming back and actually winning that ball game. I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know about you. I was a roller coaster of emotions, just like what Rizzo said in the World Series in the dugout. I'm in a glass case of emotion. There's another Anchorman reference. Anyway,
there you go.
Just to see how they came back in that. I mean, it was phenomenal, and I hope we can keep this train rolling.
Yeah, it was, it was a little bit of a bad deja vu at first with that, that 8-run eighth inning. That derailed them in a game that they should have won out in Arizona early in the year. And I think that really started a lot of the here we go again type of conversation. Coupled with that being so early, the 2-game sweep out in Tokyo where the Cubs offense just really didn't show up. And it was just like, here we go. Here's this anemic offense. Here's this atrocious bullpen. It was really fitting, like this really negative narrative. And here we are, the bullpen does the thing again. And, like Porter Hodge was in there, and wind was blowing out of Wrigley, 31 miles per hour. And I was listening to the radio a good chunk of the game. I was in and out doing different chores and stuff with the kids, and would watch when I could. And when I didn't, I'd, switch it to the, Pat Hughes, which you can't really go wrong. And yeah, Ron Coomer said at one point, he's like, this is not at all what I expected with the weather like this was today. Yeah, the 2-1. And I believe it was in the half inning before all the madness where it was like, all right, then it started really rolling. And Ron was like, well, here we go. Like, this is a little bit more what we thought was going to happen. And it is a big, I'm a big momentum guy. I'm a big, like the intangibles of, what our game is. And coming back in that game is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And like just an absolutely colossal moment. What a galvanizing moment for this group of who cares? Like, they did it to us. And I feel like we're talking about this game, like you said, this could be one of those things that kind of pushes them forward. We're talking about this team. We're talking about this game very, very differently if they blow that one again. Then it's 2 versus the Diamondbacks. But the Diamondbacks have the Diamondbacks games. All the games with the Diamondbacks this year were extremely entertaining. Like, they're just
unbelievable.
A relentless offense, a lot of contact. Corbin Carroll is back to being what people thought Corbin Carroll was. Like, not the first part of last year, Corbin Carroll struggled. And then they were talking about in the broadcast that he's made some swing adjustments and like really keeping the bat in the zone. And now his slug and stuff is back, and he's fast. He's an extremely good fielder. Like, he's an exciting player for if you're looking around for other players to follow that aren't Cubs. He's a good one. He's a good young player, and They've got a good one over there, and they don't even have Ketel Marte right now, who is probably their best player.
Mhm.
Dynamic, steals bases, hits from both sides of the play with power. But yeah, they have a very similar type of team. They've got like they're gonna run you out of the bases. They're gonna out hustle you. They play very good defense. The biggest difference to me is that the Cubs or the Diamondbacks have some like truly front end pitching, and the Cubs have not been bothered by it at to this point. Zach Gallen, they got to twice. Like he was not good the other day versus the Cubs, and he was not good the first time he faced the Cubs. So it's been nice to see, and um, I don't think it's the same thing, but I always think about unfortunately I compare a lot of things to 2016, and I can't but help but think, and it's different in a different way. But that comeback win, I had to look it up here. It was July 31st of 2016, Sunday Night Baseball versus the Mariners.
Oh yeah.
Cubs were down.
And to be
6
honest
nothing.
with you, I was in the stands for that one. That was a
That's
good
so
one.
cool.
Yeah.
They were down 6-0 after 3 innings, and
Mhm.
they came back to tie it in the ninth. And there was they had Travis Wood in and out as pitcher or like the left fielder. Like it was just like bananas baseball. Like just
Crashing up
and
against the
like
wall to catch that ball. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
And then the John Lester walk-off bunt, like just bananas. And
Yep.
I remember like that game went really long. It was Sunday Night Baseball. And it was 12 inning game, and like just being not tired the next morning at work, but obviously up later than I wanted to be. And man, that was just such a cool moment. And
Yeah.
it's those types of games that can really put the group together. So let's hope
Absolutely.
that this is the type of game that keeps them rolling, and really just gives them some confidence to know that they're never really out of a match.
Yep. That's what we need to do. Because I honestly, and I was thinking about this, I honestly don't think in the last couple of seasons especially, but I couldn't even think of a Cubs team in recent years that would be able to come back from something like that. And the fact that they're doing this now it could also, they can't let this go to their head. I mean, I even saw Baseball Reference today picks the Cubs now with the odds as the odds-on favorite to win the World Series. It's like, okay, slow down. Yes, this was a great game and everything, but I think this is momentum. Yeah, I know, but and I love to see it, but again, I think this is a great momentum swing, and they just need to keep this going and just keep the train rolling. And the other thing I love about this team is that when they do lose the game or they have a bad day or whatever, in years past, especially last year too, it would stretch into 2, 3, 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
Whereas this team, and I've heard interviews, I've seen it on Marquee, the whole 9 yards, that, okay, that game's over. Let's, wake up. Let's go do it the next day. And the next day they come back and they slug like crazy. And, that's evident when they score, 16-0 against the Dodgers a week and a half ago. I mean, when they lost the night before. So, yeah, let's just keep this train moving.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it. And yeah, I think the other thing we want to talk about this week is.
Yep. Nope.
Oop.
Keep going.
Okay, I just making sure. It's like you gotta go save some lives. Go save some lives.
No, different stations. So we're good. We're gonna keep the train rolling here on BBTI. Come on now.
Justin Steele this week had UCL cleanup surgery. They're not calling it Tommy John because it wasn't truly Tommy John. There was no replacement of the tendon, so that really does put him as potentially coming back next year as a legitimate option, where that wasn't something that was really on the table if he got Tommy John. So I do like as much as it's frustrating, I do like the aggressiveness of getting in there, figuring out what this was, making the decision to clean him up, and at the end of the day just figure this out so that we can have him next year. But it does leave just an egregiously gaping hole on this year's team. The Cubs really needed front-end rotation help this offseason. Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele are great. They're not, at this point, have really... Shota, I think, is entering potentially the conversation, but they're not showing... They're not showing elite, number one type stuff, real, true swing and miss stuff. And that is, frustrating, as a Cubs fan, is, this is something that I feel has been talked about so much. So what do you do? How do we fix this problem? So obviously there's been a lot of conversation in the last few weeks of, well, actually not a few weeks since he got hurt, about who they're going to go get, how to go get someone, and what to do to address this team. And the number one player that keeps getting mentioned is Sandy Alcantara out of Miami. And, I feel like it makes sense because, you're thinking about young player. Cubs have some young outfield prospects. And it's interesting, too, because I feel like the aggressiveness of this move or aggressiveness of a move is predicated on they need to extend Kyle Tucker to know that their outfield is set before they move a bunch of prospects. Because if you lose Kyle Tucker and you move your outfield prospects, you're in a world of hurt. Like that's so it's interesting to me like that those are very much connected. I'm not the first to say that. Not originating the idea here, but it is something that I am, thinking about a lot. So I wanted to look at some guys that could be options or just like brainstorm a little bit on players that might be available, like should start thinking about. And yeah, this was a tougher exercise than I thought it would be, just because it's really early. It's really early in the season, so you don't really know who's bad, except for there are like two teams that are just so much worse than everyone else. That's the Rockies and the White Sox. The Rockies do have Kyle Freeland. He's an interesting piece. He has always been kind of up and down with his production. He has thrown he's thrown in Coors Field. He's 31. He's got a good fastball. It's not that elite, like speed you're looking for. His velocity is not something wise. So like he's also another lefty, so he feels too similar. So I'm ruling him out, but they gave him like a soft extension just recently in the last few years. So I could see him as someone that could be shopped around because of that control. He's only $16 million a year, with an option, a mutual option, or a vesting option, sorry, in 2027. And like you could also kind of sniff around if you're looking for a bat. Like pretty solid glove guy, Ryan McMahon, out there.
Yeah.
He's 12 million a year. He plays third base. Cubs haven't really figured out the third base problem.
No, it's third base by committee at this point.
Correct. So like you can, given that it's half a season or less than half a season, depending on when you get these guys, and the amount of space the Cubs have before that first luxury tax tier, or the CBT, like these are achievable players. But yeah,
absolutely.
I'm not in love with the type. So I kept looking at, the standings and tried to find a team that, is struggling, that also has expensive pieces and players that could potentially, shift the conversation enough about this team. And interestingly to me, I think you stay in the Midwest for this, and I think there's a really, really solid trade partner in the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
So the Twins have a lot of very interesting pieces for a Cubs team that needs interesting pieces. And I'm going to start on the pitching side. One guy, and he came up some this offseason, is Pablo Lopez. He was a Marlins prospect, signed a 4-year, $73 million deal. That's about 21 mil a year. So that's 21 mil this year. The Twins are for sale, and their payroll in 2025 is at 147 million. They gave a bunch of money to Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa has not panned out, which, like color me. I mean, like another thing, like you can jump all over me. I was on the leading charge that the Cubs should go after Carlos Correa because he was a type of player that, that doesn't come out that often. And like Dansby Swanson, I was fine with because of the defensive floor, but I really wanted them to take more of a gamble offensively. And yeah, this is a guy, he finished last year with a 905 OPS, but only hit 14 home runs. Off to a real sluggish start this year, hitting 194. His fielding has not been the same. He's not hitting the ball hard. He's not barreling the ball. He doesn't run as well as he used to. It's just not. He's only 30. Like it's just it's not a good situation. But
that's not not at all. Not at all.
But if sometimes when teams are getting sold, there is like this idea that they're trying to like get rid of players that don't bog down the next owner with contracts or cost or all those
Mm-hmm.
things. And yeah, Pablo Lopez is only 29 years old. He brings something to the rotation the Cubs don't have. He has a lot of generally, he's had good swing or miss in his career. He
Yep.
has not displayed it a ton this year. He was at 25.6% K rate, and he does not walk guys, which like something this bullpen could learn from.
Yeah.
They walk a lot of guys, and this year early on, his walk rate, which was 4% last year, is at 3%.
Mm-hmm.
The strikeouts aren't quite there yet, but he's got a 1.02 WHIP and a 1.6 ERA. Last year he finished the year with a 4 ERA, but his WHIP is only 1.19, so maybe a lot more balls in play. He's starting this season with a really nice ground ball rate.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if that's a change in pitch mix. Like right now, I'm looking at it. He's got a four seamer, sweeper, slider, sinker. He hasn't really shifted the usage of the sinker. He's reduced the usage of his curve and added way more usage of his sweeper, which, like, depending on the grip, those two could be, interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. The only thing that like sticks out to me is that he has a little bit more arm side run on his changeup
Mm-hmm.
than other players. So
Mm-hmm.
he like if you look on Baseball Savant, they show like a graph like the average pitcher and like where their pitches that type of pitch would go, and like you can see how this player compares. And to me, one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite to look at is Justin Steele because his stuff is like so weird, like compared to the rest of the league on
Yeah.
where it plots first. But yeah, he seems to have some arm side run, which is what we've seen a little bit from Jameson Tyon's changeup this
Mm-hmm.
year. So sweeper, changeup, fastball, sinker. It's a profile that the Cub team has like generally been very good with, and this guy does
Mm-hmm.
have front end stuff. He has shown that he's had front end stuff as recently as 2023. Still very young. Yeah, Cubs could, eat that contract and feel pretty comfortable about it. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another name that someone brought up to me recently, and this will go another direction momentarily, but another pitcher I like was the sweeper king, Mr. Joe Ryan.
Oh
They got him,
yeah, good one.
they got they got him in a trade from the Rays. Everybody had talked about this guy of having, just a really good breaking ball. Hasn't
Mm-hmm.
shown it this year. Hasn't shown it last year. So he's got some really good velocity, or in the
Mm-hmm.
past he's had good velocity. He really moves the ball well. He strikes out guys at like a 25% clip this year. Last year
Mm-hmm.
he was at an 80% clip. He's got a really good splitter. That's his pitcher's got a little more drop than the average splitter in baseball. He's been using a sinker a little bit more this year.
Yeah.
The sweeper slider mix. He's got a little bit more glove side run than average. He started the year as a .96 whip. He's not walking a ton, but he does give a lot of fly ball contact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think prying him away, he's got a lot of years of control left. So it might not be the easiest guy, but it is the type of guy that the Cubs could look at. And
Mm-hmm.
the last one on the pitching side, I think is a really interesting thing to think about for the bullpen is Joan Duran. He was the
Oh, good one. Good one.
Yeah, he was the closer out there, and he throws really freaking hard. He's had some issues in the past with health because of that his fastball, but
Right.
his fastball run value is near the top in baseball. His fastball velocity near the top in baseball. He averages 100 miles per hour in his fastball.
Yeah.
He's got a splitter that's 97 miles per hour, and he's got a power curve that's like 89 or 87, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was fine last year. Um, he had 23 saves. He's just not a great Twins team. The year before, very solid. This guy
Mm-hmm.
racks up strikeouts. 84 and 62 innings, 66 and 54. This year he's got 9 and 9. But yeah, 59 saves, still only 27. Yeah, I think he'd be tough to pry away
Yeah.
from the Twins, given the cost control there. He's still
Right.
an arb. He's got 2 years of arbitration left after this year. Only $4 million. Um, but yeah, I want to talk about a bat really quick too.
Sure.
Um, I'm not. I doubt they're ready to give up on him. I just think this is an interesting concept if you're kind of looking at a place, to find players that a one-stop shop per se, like maybe a bigger deal. But like those are always harder to pull off in the
Hmm.
middle of the season. But Royce Lewis, um,
Oh, good one. Good name. Okay.
he has not been healthy yet this year. He has struggled with health, but when he
Hmm.
has been healthy, he has been pretty dang good.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
has
Oh gosh. Yeah.
a lot of power, a lot of pull side power. He's not a slouch with the glove. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he seems to have good vertical movement over there. He's been a top prospect or in that top prospect pedigree for a number of years, and
Hmm.
yeah, when he was hitting well, he barrels the ball pretty regularly. He's got near
Hmm.
top tier bat speed. He does strike out. He does have that tendency. But he had shown in 2023 some pretty solid patience, not like elite patience, but enough
Hmm.
patience.
Hmm.
And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Cubs could look into someone like that at third base. But yeah, health is a definite concern. But
Yep.
yeah, that's kind of what I looked at to replace Justin Steele.
And the other thing, and to kind of piggyback, going back to your pitchers, another one we're going to need to really look at, and again, it's a small sample size, but even looking internal, what Cade Horton's doing in Iowa.
Yes.
I mean, so far he's got a 146 ERA. He's thrown 12 and a third innings pitched. So he's had a couple outings so far, but his walks are getting up there. He's got 10 walks, but he's got 18 strikeouts and only given up 5 hits in 12 and a third. And, listening to, Alex Cohen kind of talking about him, reading some things online, he's actually been pretty steadily down there in Iowa. So that is the name to watch as far as when and if they're going to call him up. But you bring up a lot of great names, and Minnesota is a great team. I mean, you don't want to, it's like a vulture poaching on, roadkill on the side of the road. But in the same token, if the Twins are what they are and they go into full sell mode, which more than likely they will be, that's a good team to start looking at and start seeing what's available and kind of going from there. But I also do agree with you that before they do all this stuff, they've got to take care of Tucker. And I think, and again, I'm being optimistic here, and Cub Nation might be just shaking their head. My son's probably yelling at this computer screen when he's seeing this going, Dad, you're crazy. But I think that they will come up to some agreement, but they need to nail him down, and then they can start moving prospects and getting some of these other big names and solidify things even more.
Yeah, it's all connected, as
Yeah.
Theo Epstein used to talk about. As you kind of make your long-term roster and your short-term roster, you got to make
Mm-hmm.
both moves at the same time.
Yep.
But I think before we let the good people go, not that you're hostage, but who are
Let me
some guys
out.
that you guys think the Cubs should target? Sandy Alcantara is a good one. We talked about the Twins. Are there guys that we're missing that you're thinking about
Yep.
for different parts of the Cubs, like pitching rotation or bullpen or position players? Let us know in the comments, and we'll check
Absolutely.
those
Let
out.
us know. Mm-hmm.
So the week ahead, Cubs have a weird week. They have the weird 2-game series because of the Tokyo series with the
Right.
Dodgers as we wrap up the Dodgers this week. That series for the Cubs is Imanaga Boyd, and we will get our first look at Dustin May. He had Tommy John and had a weird like throat issue that caught him out of last year.
Mm-hmm.
He had like swallowed something weird and ended up
Yeah.
having to have this major throat like esophagus surgery. And but yeah, he's a dude. That is not a comfortable matchup for the Chicago Cubs. It's not a comfortable matchup for anyone. He has come out of the gate looking really good. 106 ERA in 3 games started. He's not striking out a ton of guys early, even with that, very, very solid velocity. He's not showing the same like intensely high velocity that he had in the past. He was like pushing towards 100 when before Tommy John. He's at like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like he's at 95 right now, where he used to average 97, 98. So a little different, but still really hard to hit. He's got a really, really strong downward tilt away from his glove side sinker. He's got a pretty much a three-quarter arm slot. It's coming from the side angle. He's got a four-seam fastball that kind of drops like his sinker does. It's very unique in profile shape.
Yeah, a lot of his pitches have nasty movement too.
Correct. He's like everything he has moves way differently than the norm.
Yep.
Which means that it's going to be extremely hard to pick up. He is near the top of baseball ground ball rate. So like getting under that ball is gonna be extremely difficult. 62% of the pitches this year that have been hit in the play have been hit on the ground by hitters. He has a 0% barrel rate. No one has barreled him this year.
Wow.
So like he's been very, very good. But yeah, he's letting a lot of balls in play. So like this is a Cubs team that does put a lot of balls in play, and you can't piss off the bat pip gods if you're not putting it into play. So like
Yep.
we'll see what turns out. But they don't have an announced starter yet for Thursday. And then this weekend we see the Phillies for the first time. And
Yep. Welcome home, Schwarbs.
Exactly. We'll get to see Kyle Schwarber. No more tribute videos. We've gotten all that stuff out of the way. But the Phillies have the Mets earlier this week, and they're throwing the top end of their rotation versus the Mets. So the Cubs will see probably Aaron Nola on Sunday because he pitched today for the Phillies. And they will see, I'm not sure what order, they will see Taijuan Walker and Jesus Luzardo, a rumored Cubs target from this offseason, who's off to a really good start as the Cubs continue their stretch of baseball versus teams that are A, considered playoff contenders, and B, over 500 as they try to survive this homestand.
Absolutely. It's going to be, and the other thing is, Cub fans, get your butts out to the ballpark this week. It's going to be warmer, a lot warmer actually, thank goodness. So they need all the support they can. Buy as many $18 beers as you can so Ricketts can't say that he doesn't have the money to re-sign Tucker. And it's going to be an exciting time. I mean, we've looked very good so far against the teams that, in the beginning, looking at this schedule when it was released back in, January, February, whenever it was, that we didn't think we were going to be this good. And we have been, and we just need to keep going. Like I've been saying all night here tonight, keep that train rolling. But let's do this and let's take it to them.
Yeah, Cubbies will thrive in 25.
There it is.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. If you have not left us stranded on base, like this video, drop a comment, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a single inning / episode, and become a brickhead today. Until next week, go Cubs.
Go Cubs.